Welcome to this explainer. You know, it's wild how a single spark on the global stage can set off an absolute chain reaction. Today, we're tracing exactly that, how an international military flashpoint ripples outward to impact global markets, tech investments, and even massive national celebrations right here in the US. We've got a lot of ground to cover, so let's get into it. So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to hit the US-Iran flashpoint, the massive shifts in markets and AI, deep political divides in the US, a historic July 4th setup, and finally, 3 scenarios for what actually happens next.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, Global Flashpoint between the US and Iran.
Following those recent U.S. self-defense strikes on Iranian naval positions, everyone's eyes are glued to the Middle East. And for good reason. Think about this. Nearly 20% of the entire global oil supply squeezes through one tiny, narrow waterway, the Strait of Hormuz. 20%. So any military posturing there, it instantly threatens shipping lanes, absolutely spikes energy prices, and, you guessed it, drives up inflation worldwide. It's a geopolitical move that hits your wallet directly.
And man, the tension is palpable. With real fears that the current fragile ceasefire could just completely collapse, President Donald Trump has drawn a very strict line, stating clearly that Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. And the American military? They are definitely not taking any chances right now. They're deploying destroyers and aircraft to heavily monitor the Gulf.
Moving right along to Section 2, Markets, AI, and Big Tech.
Now, you might be thinking, what does a Middle Eastern conflict have to do with Silicon Valley? Well, it creates this massive, almost jarring economic contrast. On one side, you have pure anxiety, with investors kind of panicking over shipping disruptions and fluctuating oil prices. But then, on the exact same trading days, there's just pure, unadulterated optimism in artificial intelligence. The demand for AI hardware is so intense that companies like NVIDIA are literally skyrocketing, becoming some of the most valuable corporations on the planet.
And you know, it's not just the hardware side of things. The software race is moving at absolute breakneck speed. Google is rolling out these transformative AI upgrades to totally overhaul how we use search and YouTube. Meanwhile, Apple is gearing up for some massive AI-powered announcements of their own, especially when it comes to Siri. The whole tech landscape is just shifting daily right now.
But here's the catch. All that rapid innovation, it breeds some pretty serious new vulnerabilities. Cybersecurity is essentially a top-tier national threat now. And this was really thrust into the spotlight recently by reports of a major data breach connected to the so-called Trump phone. It's wild, but it just goes to show that the digital battleground is becoming every bit as volatile as the physical ones.
Which brings us to Section 3, Deep Divides in U.S. Politics.
Bringing it back home, the political temperature here is rising incredibly fast as we head toward the midterms. We're actually seeing some serious momentum for specific political factions right now. For instance, several Republican candidates backed by President Trump have recently secured some really major primary victories across multiple states. It's a super clear demonstration of the organizing power within that specific voting base. But you know, the fight isn't just happening at the ballot box, it's happening in the courts too. Legal battles over voting districts are really intensifying. Take Virginia, for example, where the state's Supreme Court just struck down congressional maps that Democrats had drawn up. And these granular, state-level legal decisions, they are absolutely crucial because they are exactly what could determine the ultimate balance of power in Washington.
Okay, let's look at Section 4, a historic July 4th celebration.
So right against this intense backdrop of global tension and deep domestic division, the White House is planning something truly unprecedented for America's 250th Independence Day. Get this, 860,000. That is the actual number of fireworks organizers are planning to launch in Washington, D.C. 860,000. If they pull it off, it's going to be the largest display in American history, hands down. And actually, it's a whole lot more than just fireworks. The plans for this 250th anniversary include military flyovers, massive parades, and huge concerts, all designed as this massive global showcase of American strength. But, as you might expect, reactions are sharply split. Supporters are obviously thrilled for this historic display of patriotism, while critics are definitely raising some serious questions about the massive financial cost, not to mention the political messaging during such a tense election year.
Finally, we arrive at Section 5, 3 scenarios for the future.
When you bring all these volatile elements together, analysts are essentially projecting 3 potential paths forward for us. Scenario 1, diplomatic negotiations actually succeed and we see a real easing of those US-Iran tensions. Scenario 2, we get a continuation of the status quo, so limited military clashes that kind of just keep markets on edge without tipping into a full-scale war. Or scenario 3, a major escalation. Literally one miscalculation could trigger a wider conflict that would instantly crash those global tech markets we talked about, spike oil prices, and completely upend domestic politics.
The whole situation right now is just incredibly fluid, with mediators working frantically behind the scenes to keep things stable. As the entire world watches this unfold, I want to leave you with this vital question to chew on. Based on all the military posturing, the wildly shifting economy, and these deep political divides, are we heading toward a much bigger conflict? Think about it. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, stay focused, and I'll catch you next time.